is great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that guy back there in that big luxury office chair, man. Doesn't he? He looks at home. That's where he should be. That's right. I'm the Tim. All right. So anyway, Austin Hill and Tim Cranbrink, by the way, as you may know, is a committed Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he wants to get called into this conversation. He's also a state senator.
You never know. He's pretty good at having conversations that can go all over the place. He can handle himself pretty well.
Is that right? Well, yeah, he can.
Yeah.
Okay.
He can probably handle himself better than I can. He's had to deal with a lot of people.
Oh, he's been dealing with me for years. I mean, he's learned to just he's just learned to reach across the control board and cuff me. So
yeah, exactly. He knows where the mute button is.
That's right. Where were we anyway?
Well, we were talking about I think the need to be willing to work with people we don't agree with, and kind of the difficulties of cancel culture and of people who try to just kind of wipe out those that they don't agree with, as opposed to loving our enemies.
That's from Stalin's Soviet Russia, by the way. There was a group in the 1930s who were, first of all, let me back up. A little boy turned in his parents as non-revolutionaries. And the little boy and the parents were taken away and killed for being non-revolutionary. Kind of like today. I wouldn't doubt if that's going to happen somewhere, especially in California, New York, or at the University of Iowa.
Well, I as one who did grow up in California, then but it's not always as crazy as people make it out to be. I tell people that I'm from California, and they say, "How did you live out there?" And I lived pretty well.
Anyway, there was this 5-year-old boy in Russia in the 1930s.
Yeah,
this is more legend than fact, of course. But apparently he saw his parents were not revolutionary enough, turned them in, and they were killed. Where the relatives of the parents were outraged, and horrible story, they killed a little boy. Now, the reaction of the Soviet authorities, of Stalin's Soviet authorities, was to make this child a martyr. And there were, his first name was Pavlik. There were Pavlik pioneer clubs all over the Soviet Union. Saying what wonderful things Pavlik supposedly did. And what he did was turning his parents in, and they were killed. But he was held up, this myth, I should say, was held up as something positive and wonderful and patriotic, and something all Soviet children should aspire to.
Wow.
And, oh, God, the 1930s in Russia were nothing to mess around with. I've read Robert Conquest is the definitive author on 1930s Russia. By the way, at the same time, the New York Times had a columnist in Soviet Russia, Walter, I can't remember. Anyway, New York Times was writing about Russia and what a wonderful thing it was, and the communal farms, and oh gosh, and it was jazzing 1930s communists. So in the United States, there were a lot of them, usually upper middle class people who apparently they're going to go live in a hut. They're going to leave their nice place and go live in a hut in the name of freedom. And he won the Pulitzer Prize for reporting. And the thing is, it's all a lie. Every bit of it was a lie. He intentionally lied. When he was confronted after he was revealed, he said, well, about these atrocities and mass murders, he said, well, if you're going to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs,
Wow.
He just dismissed it, And that was Soviet Russia in the 1930s. That's what scared to death my parents.
Yeah.
That's the type of, because it could happen here.
Well, I'd be curious to hear from you, especially as one who's served over in Vietnam, and you were at an age where in the 60s and early 70s, you went through a lot of the social upheaval that happened in our day, and it seems like more and more that we're kind of dealing similarly with similar kinds of issues in our culture today, and I think the divisions among us maybe seem as significant as what seems to be described back then. And I'd be curious how you might compare your experience younger, as a young adult in the 60s and early 70s with what you're seeing, around us today.
Well, first of all, overseas, I was usually stoned and drunk. So,
yeah.
But I will tell you that I was also stationed in California for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
And California was the worst. I know this is your home state.
Sure.
And I hate to talk about it in such a detrimental way.
Well, I've now lived in Iowa longer than anywhere else in the country. So
it's a beautiful state. It's big, it's expansive. just a beautiful state. But I would come off the camp or onto the camp, and there'd be these people out there who were, and some of them were nice looking girls dressed in the hippie regalia of the time, and they were handing out anti-war leaflets, which is a perfect right to do it. But I was in uniform. And they'd scream at anybody who was in uniform that we were baby killers. And I thought to myself, baby killer? I'm from Algona. We don't kill babies in Algona, for God's sake. And, and I had kind of approached a couple of the girls, kind of high there, tentatively. Oh, no, I was baby killer. Baby killer. And I had blood on my hands.
Because you were part of a system.
Yes, I was. So I haven't had much good to say about hippies ever since. Not just a little bit before this episode. I think there were a couple of movies about old guys beating up hippies in the street, and I kind of like that.
Well, remember,
but I'll tell you, I see the same self-righteous sanctimony all over social media. Oh, you're this, and I'm so much better than you because I think this way, and you don't.
Well, yeah, and I think that sanctimony is there among all of us to some degree. And it even is, as I'm saying, talking about other people who are canceling other people, I'm doing that in such a way that I'm then considering myself to be better than others. And I think, as we were talking earlier, all of this has to start in humility, in our own ability to recognize when we haven't gotten things right, our ability to maybe learn from other people, but especially to be able to work with other people. If anything, as a Presbyterian, I've found that in our denomination, there's quite a wide variety of kind of theological opinions. And
that's fine.
And there are people I don't agree with on things that I really don't agree with some of their theology. But I've found that working with them over the last 12, 13 years, 15 years, however long it's been, that we can still get things done. God can still work in us, through us, and around us, even when we don't see eye to eye. That doesn't mean those differences are meaningless. It just means that we can still be in the same room together. We can be in the same boards together.
Why do we have to say this? Why do we have to say this, really? Well, when I was a kid, it was a big deal if a Catholic married a Lutheran. But we got over it, We, our parents, and some of them had those old religious prejudices in them.
Yeah.
I know a man who wasn't going to go to his daughter's wedding because his daughter was marrying a non-Catholic.
Yeah.
Well, she did it anyway. And and he went to the wedding.
Because at some point you kind of realize, if I want a relationship with this person that I love, then I have to meet them where they are, even if I don't always agree with everything they're choosing to do.
The young girl made the correct choice and courageous choice. And her father, I know him to be a good man. I know him to be a fine man, salt of the earth type. But he had a lot of old ideas that, frankly, were wrong. They were just wrong, terribly wrong. And we have evolved from that. You just can't turn on a light switch. Excuse me. The people advocating in the streets today, busting up things, the kids raised on cheeseburgers from McDonald's or whatever. And I don't. And the majority of them are white kids in Iowa who are always acting oppressed. But anyway, they have no idea really what they're talking about. They have the Chauvin video was shocking, horrific. I didn't do it. Tam, did you do it? No, he didn't do it either. Did you do it?
No.
Well, I'm not going to be held responsible for it then. If you want to indict me on moral crimes, you're going to have to come up with something different. Okay. Well,
yeah, and there's, I guess I would like to take a little bit of a middle ground. When you look at
we don't do middle ground in here.
I know. This is talk radio, right? Get me out of here.
I'm going to have to. Yeah. I'm going to let you finish that thought, but and we're going to get Senator Kreinbrink in here. But right now we're going to go to the news. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Hello, I'm a unicorn. Yes, one of those. Everyone's trying to find me, but most can't, unless there's ZipRecruiter. If you've hired before, you understand it's quite hard to find a unicorn. Someone who's perfect for your role. So how does ZipRecruiter do it so quickly? ZipRecruiter's technology matches your job up with the right people for your role and invites them to apply, so you get brilliant candidates fast.
Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The trial of a prisoner who's charged with a murder that occurred at the Fort Dodge Correctional Facility is now set for later this month. 45-year-old Eric Hall is charged with the murder of 59-year-old Thomas Andrew Dulesky. In June of last year, Dulesky was found unresponsive in his cell. The autopsy ruled the death was a homicide. The criminal complaint says that video surveillance from the prison shows that Hall went into Dulesky's cell just prior to his death. The Iowa DCI says that Hall admitted to the murder of Dulesky in an interview. Dulesky was serving a sentence of over 4 decades for charges of sexual abuse and lascivious acts with a child. Hall is serving time for third-degree burglary. He was originally scheduled to be released in 2023. Hall has rejected a plea deal on a charge of second-degree murder and will face first-degree murder in his trial. The Food Bank of Iowa's partner pantries in Webster County have received grants that total almost $198,000. The grants have been made possible through CARES Act funding. The various partners in Webster County Center grant recipients include APHIS, Lord's Comfort of Fort Dodge, Calvary Memorial Church of God in Christ, the Salvation Army, CFR, Community Christian School, Community Early Childhood Center, the Iowa Central Community College Foundation, Upper Des Moines Opportunity of Webster County, Trinity Catholic, and Youth Shelter Care of North Central Iowa. Iowa State football coach Matt Campbell says finding a return specialist has been a priority this spring. Kene Nwangu finished third in the Big 12 in kick returns with a 29-yard average. He was taken by the Minnesota Vikings in the 4th round of this past weekend's NFL draft.
I don't know if you totally, replace a guy like Kene, especially what he was as a senior in our football program. I mean, the plays he made, especially in the kick return game, were game-changing.
The comments from Matt Campbell are courtesy of Radio Iowa Sports. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. May corn up 12.5 at 7.44 3/4. July up 17 1/4 at 6.96 3/4. September corn up 18.5 at 6.10 1/4. December up 17.5 at 5.80 1/2. May soybeans up 16 3/4 at 15.77. July up 14 1/4 at 15.38 1/4. August up 15 cents at 14.82. September up 18 3/4 at 14 even. Soybean meal up 7.30 a ton at 423.50. Chicago wheat up 8 3/4 at 726 3/4. June live cattle down 227 at 113.02. August down 172 at 116.62. May feeder cattle down 330 at 129.75. August down 362 at 143.17. May lean hogs up 45 cents at 111.15. June up 90 at 113.55. I'm Dwayne Murley.
I'm Joel Clark, a SelectQuote agent, with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and he can't take it with him. Well, I went to work and found Ray, who's 40 and takes medication to control his high blood pressure, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. That's way more coverage for a lot less than what he was paying. If SelectQuote didn't shop for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-206-9977. That's 1-800-206-9977. 1-800-206-9977. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. I'm the Doctor of Truth. I'm here with the Senator of Truth, Tim Kreinbrink. How are you, Tim? It's great to see you.
Great, Mike.
Haven't seen you guys in months because of the damn COVID.
It's nice to have you back.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be back. It's nice to have you back in the studio.
Color looks good. You still as feisty as ever? Kind of it. You must have gone bald because you're putting a hat on, but other than that, you look all right.
No, I'm not completely bald, but you know the situation. You know the bald disease.
Yeah, well, some guys just fess up to it and just go on with life. They don't have to cover it up.
No, well, it's not. How many times have you seen me without a hat? I mean, there's pictures of me everywhere. Anyway, Tim Kreinbrink is our guest. If you have a question or comment for Senator Kreinbrink, it's 515-955-1400. Scrappy will probably call and ask why he's not on the show because he won't come on.
He's out in the field, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure he is. I think I heard that 67% of the farmland is planted already.
Yeah, I think they're doing well.
April wasn't a great month to plant, but
yeah, the farmers that have the corn in and got that little shot of rain here over the last couple days are pretty happy, I think. But boy, we need rain all over the state of Iowa right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of important things we need to discuss, Senator Kreinbrink, and we will, especially around budget issues. But there has been a push, at least on the Republican side, I don't know if you were part of it or not, is to do something about the situation in the streets in some of our bigger cities here in Iowa, where people have been unlawful. And they have disturbed the peace in ways that are not a peaceful protest. I know there have been a number of attempts to do something about that because we can't return to normalcy without doing something about this, without having a law enforcement response, to my mind, to felonies in the street being committed in the name of social justice. I'm not trying to say that the majority of the people in the social justice movement are wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that they do harbor criminals. What do we do about the criminals?
Well, I think you look back to, last year, and I always kind of preface this in a situation that, in May or so after we came back, or June after we came back after the COVID layover, kind of we stopped session and went for another month or two, and then we started session up again and had an abbreviated 13 or 14 day session to get out of there. We just passed a status quo budget, and we didn't know where the state was going. And the frustrating thing to me is that, at that point we were down at our condo downtown in East Village, and it was interesting because they put an 8 o'clock curfew. So my Sally and I went out to try to find a place to eat. And of course, everybody was closing at 7 o'clock because the workers had to make it home by 8 o'clock. And then so we ended up, and I guess Sally and I weren't aware of that at the time, and ended up going back to the condo. And believe me, I can last a couple of days without a meal. So it wasn't like I was hurting.
But we don't want to.
Or anything. And, later that evening, 2 blocks away, I could hear the protesters moving up Grand Avenue, and stood on the lawn of the Capitol, beating drums and screaming and yelling and everything.
Does that sound like a peaceful protest?
But the thing is, though, that the people that are following the curfew stayed home. And then we did nothing with the people that weren't following the curfew and were protesting. So I didn't know if protest gives you the right to be out after curfew or not.
Apparently it does.
But it's just kind of frustrating for people that are trying to follow the law, and they follow the law, and then you have people that are being in a way catered to and allowed to do. And it was peaceful. What they did not destruct, the Capitol at this time or anything bad happened.
But they were
but still
violation.
They were violation of a law, or it probably wasn't a law, but the businesses around there were following, the curfew. And so the businesses were losing out on revenue because they had to close because of what was going to happen later that evening. And I just think I think we need to step back and look, at it. And like everybody says, peaceful protests are fine. Everybody has a right to say what they have to say or would like to say. But when it crosses a line where it becomes destructive, that's what the state legislature was looking at, to say if it becomes to a point where it's not a peaceful protest anymore, and it becomes destructive,
Mm-hmm.
then you're breaking the law.
Well, what can we do about it? Apparently, Des Moines has been unable
but
or
those
unwilling.
people need to be arrested and they need to be tried.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
And that's what we're, as legislators, standing behind.
Okay. Have you passed a law signed by Governor Reynolds to that effect?
We are in the process of passing legislation, whether it goes this year or not. But I know there's several bills out there that'll still be alive next year because we're in the same General Assembly. But we would like to take all of the groups that are interested and come together with some type of a bipartisan type coalition that says, this is right and this is wrong.
Yeah, well, I guess they're opposed to Western civilization. And I'm a member of Western civilization. The civilization I hear coming out of their side, it's not something I want to join.
Well, and I think what you're talking about earlier with the previous guest is that, if we were to pass something like that, then all of a sudden you are
a racist.
Labeled a racist.
Racist.
And you will be, which doesn't bother me if I'm on Facebook as whatever they want to call me, because I don't go on Facebook anyway. So it really doesn't make any difference. And I think the people in Iowa, and I think the people in the United States are getting to the point where, they're fed up with it and they've had enough of it. And they want to move forward. I quoted, Senator Scott Friday afternoon at Eggs and Issues that, I think he's right that the actual United States of America is not a racist country. It is not a racist country. And
it certainly
and especially systemically racist.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think if, like you said, if you're to blame for other people's mishaps or other things that have happened in the past, and we then have to try to shoulder that burden of making things right for something we didn't participate in, and I have never participated in, is not right.
This is AM 1400 KVFT, the voice for Dodge. Our guest, Senator Tim Cranbrook. If you have a question for the Senator, it's 515-955-1400. We'll get this stuff. You can stay around a little bit after 3 o'clock, I know. But we have to get these this moral posing out of the way. My God, the Democrat, you mentioned that it's been tough for you to pass a bill like you were talking about, to crack down on felons and terrorists, really. But we can't get through the Democratic Party. Are some members of the Democratic Party out there in the street? I mean, there's some empty seats in the Senate chamber. they're the ones out there pounding on drums. I thought you'd be finding humor in this, but you're looking at me I think it is.
I don't think back in June that happened. I mean, there's, whether it's a signing of a bill that I was very supportive of, or it's a pro-life rally that I'm supportive of. I mean, you're going to probably see me there, and you're probably going to see some other conservative Republicans there. And if there's a Black Lives Matter, or if there's a, something that is in that realm, you're probably going to see some supporters of that. And there, does that mean that they're trying to be inflammatory or try to cause trouble? No, it doesn't. It just means that they're taking part in something that they truly believe in, and I respect them for that, just as though they probably respect me for standing up for the issues that I think are near and dear to my heart. So that doesn't mean they're right or I'm right, or they're wrong and I'm wrong. It just means that you're standing up for what you feel is important to you, and that's what we have to get back to. That's we need to get back to
civility.
Well, we need to get back to the point where we can respect the other side for doing what they feel is important, without shaming or calling the other side a name, or without making shaming the other side into thinking that you're wrong because you don't believe in that issue.
Well, I'm a Roosevelt Johnson Democrat, but the Democratic Party as it exists today, and I think we can say this, is a party without direction, really. They're full of slogans, they're full of emotion, they're full of rage, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I made this illustration with
but
Pastor,
to them, Mike, they do.
Yeah. Well, here's the losing candidate down here in the Ward 2 City Council election, the last time we had an election, started a change.org position to have me taken off the air because I was not helping move the community toward where we want to go. That's the sort of phrase I'm talking about. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean? So we can move the country where we want it to go, or move the city or the county or the state Where are we going?
Well, we had that discussion last week in the Senate. A bill came up, and it had to do with the youth. It wasn't really a bill; it was a point of order, or point of personal privilege at the end of the day. And they talked about the group of students that came over from East High to have a peaceful protest in front of the Capitol, and they were angry about the bills that we have passed in the voting bill that we had advanced.
Mm-hmm.
Several bills that they thought that it was racist that we passed those.
That's their major word.
Thing is that there is varying numbers from 80 to 200 students that came over from East High. First of all, they're there during school day, so that begs to reason what is happening as far as our schools backing what agenda that they're pushing. But the second thing was, we had another senator that stood up and said the straw poll that was, and they said, you're not doing, the senators said you're not doing what the youth of Iowa wants. And the other senators stood up and say, now wait a minute, we had a straw poll of all the high schools in the state of Iowa, and all the students overwhelmingly picked Republican candidates, just like it did in the election. Pretty much exactly what happened in the election. And so when you're trying to say 80 to 200 students from one school is what Iowa wants, you should be looking at all students over the entire state of Iowa. And that comes back to your point, is they said, you're not moving Fort Dodge in the way that Fort Dodge wants to be moved. Does that mean that Fort Dodge in general wants to be moved that way? Or does that mean there's a select few people that want to be moved
it's all
that way? And so you have to look, and that's, I think, what you were getting at is it in the entire city of Fort Dodge that wants to be moved that way? Or do we have a select few that are pushing a radical liberal agenda that thinks Fort Dodge should be moving in a certain way? And I think we, again, just have to respect what they're saying, but don't cancel what you say because you don't quite believe in the same thing that they.
Well, I would be happy to interact with Mr. Meyer or anyone else if we could get by the slogans. What is the premise of your argument? Where are you going with this? Don't say all these inflammatory things and then not have any substance at all to back it up. I mean, are you just an atheist? Are some of these people, and this is what I suspect, just atheist materialists seeking power and fame? I really think that's a driving force behind some of these street demonstrations. I mean, what are you in favor for? When you say you're for an equal society or you're opposed to inequality, what does inequality look like? Because I tell you, human beings.
And what would be the remedy?
What would be the remedy?
So don't just point out the problem, that as they see it, show us something that we could do that's in the realms of America, and keep America. And how can we fix this?
Tim, I played a little basketball in my time, but I'm not but Michael Jordan made more money than I ever did. I don't think that's equitable. So I think Michael Jordan's a racist for some absurd reason.
Well, I mean, that'd be something idea that you could take up and argue, under that.
But it would be a ludicrous argument. I demand as much money for my basketball skills as Michael Jordan. I want to have the same sort of money that Tom Brady gets because I also played football. Mm-hmm. I'm entitled due to my suffering. Are you kidding me? I mean, I may be able to run faster than you now, but I doubt it.
Maybe for 10 steps.
Yeah, maybe. But we can't be equal in that way. We can't. I mean,
if that's true, then I would like to see what equal does, what equal has to be.
That's exactly my point, and perhaps I didn't make it clear when we started talking that I would like to know what sort of equality. What does that look like?
Don't just get to a point and then you're frustrated, so you throw out a word that, since you don't see it my way, that's what you are.
Right.
Because that doesn't help. That doesn't help us move anywhere, because it shuts down the other side, because they can argue. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're going to call me that without knowing me, then really there's no reason for us to continue that conversation.
Well, of course, a real fear that we should all have is that reason, logic, and fact have disappeared. Now, I know somebody's going to call us up and say, Trump! Well, okay, Trump is a little over the top a lot of the times, but he's gone. Can we move on? I mean, he's gone. Can we? Tim Cranbrink's our guest. He's a senator from the state of Iowa in this district. 515-955-1400 is the number to call. We're going to get past this, I swear, but did we get the constitutional carry permit passed? I mean, the constitutional right to carry a weapon. Did that pass?
Yes.
Or was it signed by the governor?
Yes.
Okay, that was done. What do you think of the uproar around Governor Reynolds? Well, I'll forget that question. Governor Reynolds sent back a lot of money we were sent from the federal government for COVID relief.
For COVID
other
testing.
states, right, okay. Other states have kept the money and spent it on roads, which is unethical. You know what I'm talking about, though. You know, and some of the biggest liberal governors in the country had no problem doing that.
Well, part of the thing I think that was still coming back to Governor Reynolds was she used COVID money for what she thought was the correct thing in
testing. You said,
well, actually, it was actually last year, and she used it for technology upgrades for the computers for the state of Iowa, and then Tom Sands came and did a audit and said that she used it incorrectly and that it was illegal for her to do that. So then we had to dig into the general fund and fund that $21 million that she had to give back. And I think she's a little hesitant to be using these funds unless she is very, very sure that money can be used for that. I think part of the reason is because she knows that she has Tom Sands,
Rob
Sands. I mean, I'm sorry. I was thinking Tom Miller, Rob Sands, the state auditor, kind of watching to make sure, which he may have aspirations of running for.
Oh, there's no doubt. I saw him on Facebook
for something else. Later on.
Yeah.
But I think he's very critical of what our governor does, which I think our governor's done a great job. And this money that you talked about the other night on Laura Ingraham was money, the way I understand it, was to be used only for school testing, to test children to get them back into school when the majority of our schools were already back in session, and they were going pretty close to 100% except for Des Moines Public Schools. And so we didn't need it. So what would we just have it laying there and not use it, or did she give it back? And was she making a political statement? I don't know. I'm not Governor Reynolds, but I think it kind of played into that she was a little bit hesitant to use funds for anything else because she's already been by Rob Sands, our auditor, called on something that she actually used it for. That there are one or two other states that used it for the exact same thing, and so if there are other states that are using it for roads, and then we used it for roads, and we were called out on it by our auditor that you can't use it for that, even though other states were doing it because maybe they had a more lenient auditor, or whatever.
He has politicized the office.
It basically has gotten to that point where I wouldn't do anything out of what was very, very well documented if I were he either.
Do you know Mr. Sand?
Yeah, I've talked with him and been on Zooms with him and stuff like that. Great guy.
Seems to be.
Great guy.
I did see him at Iowa Press last week or the week before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he mentioned that he is running for governor, or would like to be, not running, but he would like to be governor.
Yeah, I guess I didn't hear that, and I just would
or maybe it was on a Facebook.
I would just think that he may have some aspirations of a higher office.
Oh, certainly he does. That's what we've never had a contentious auditor's race in the state of Iowa, as long as I've been on this earth, which is a long time. We get a Republican auditor in there, and Mary, what was her name?
Mosman,
nice person. Didn't do one single thing wrong, but all of a sudden, here comes Rob Sand of the Democratic Party, and she's the devil.
Right. But that's politics.
That is politics.
That's the way it works.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's a lot about relationships, and that's the advantage of running for a smaller district, and not district, but 60,000 constituents. I mean, I've met a lot of those constituents, and if I haven't met them, a lot of people know who I am and who know who my family is, and what we have been 40 years here, in this area.
Sure.
So, I have nothing to hide, and I am basically who I was when I ran.
You have every reason. You and Sally have every reason to be proud. You do, and don't let anybody tell you different. And these people who so recklessly throw around the term racist should be ashamed of themselves, because they know it's false.
I tell people, I've been I was a referee for 25 years, and a lot of those gymnasiums I went out of, half the people liked me and half of them didn't. And a lot of times neither team liked me, when I left. So truly in politics, you don't have a lot of really, really close friends. You know who your friends are.
Sure.
And, as far as friends that you can 100% count on, everybody has friends, but to have 100% count on friends, and you probably have the same situation in your business, in your realm, you have good people that you can call your close friends, and you have others that you call friends that when it came right down to it, they might not have your back. And so it's the same in life,
Sure.
You just have to make sure your relationship with Christ is good. And
that's right.
And then you can lay your head on pillow at the end of the day, knowing you did what's right. And that's really all you need. So.
I'll tell you, there's nothing better than having a solid sense of self and knowing why you believe and what you believe, or I should say what you believe and why you believe it.
And I think one of the things you probably know about me and you can say about me is that when I make my mind up, whether you think it's right or I think it's right, I feel okay with what the decision I've made. And I do too. I set my flag, and I don't, unless there's something very, very strange happening, I stick with it, Yeah.
Gosh, you mentioned umpiring. My wife was a pretty good softball player. She was all-state honorable mention a couple of times, I think, when she was in school. So when we met up in Algona, she was on one of the women's league softball teams. She was pretty good. Again, she was pretty good. But anyway, the umpire didn't show up for one of the games. I usually went to her game, sat up in the stands, me and the guys up there drinking beer and stuff.
I can see where this is going.
So the umpire doesn't show up. So here comes my wife and a couple other girls, and they're grabbing me. Come on, get out there and umpire. I'll get out there. I don't want to umpire. I want to sit up here in the bleachers. No, come on here, umpire. In the home plate umpire was somebody I knew, and he said, "It'll be all right, Mike. I do.
I'll help you."
Yeah, you just go out there and stand behind second base. So there was a close play at second base.
Wasn't your wife, I hope?
No. The opposing team was at the plate, and there was I can't remember. There was probably a hit or something.
It's great to hear a referee say the opposing team.
Yeah.
You weren't biased at all.
Nothing at all. No. I hope I didn't put that out there. No, the umpire and I could have gave a damn, really.
Yeah.
But there was the opposing team was at the plate, and there was a close call at second base, and I called this lady out. Well, I didn't recognize her. And she jumped up and she was furious and cussed me. And she says, after this game, I'm going to have my husband, and she pointed to him, beat you up. And I knew who her husband was. And he could have beat me up and four like me. And he was leaning against his car, giving me the glare. And he had these dramatic, deep-set blue eyes.
Yeah.
He was just peering at it. Oh, man, I'm dead. That was beginning and end of my umpiring career, ladies and gentlemen.
You didn't change your call, did you?
That's right. I'm going on the radio now. This is KVFD Fort Dodge. It's 3:00. We'll try to keep Senator Kreinbrink around for a few more minutes so we can at least discuss the budget just a little bit. 3:00.
Straight talk on life and money. This is the Dave Ramsey Show on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
More access to vaccines. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Biden today says his administration's new goal is to get at least one dose of coronavirus vaccines to 70% of American adults by July 4th. He says almost 150 million have received at least one dose already, and more than 105 million are fully vaccinated.
Cases are down in 40 states these past 2 weeks. Deaths are down dramatically since January, down over 80% among seniors, which includes a drop among Hispanics of 80% and among African Americans of 70% of seniors.
The president says tens of thousands of pharmacies participating in the federal pharmacy program have been asked to offer walk-in appointments. And the administration is increasing allotments to rural health clinics. The president also calling on getting the nation's youth vaccinated as soon as the FDA approves vaccines for use among younger age groups. President Biden today saying he may meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Talking with reporters at the White House, the president says talks are underway for a possible meeting when the president's in Europe next month. Pentagon officials say a base in southern Afghanistan's volatile Helmand province has been turned over to local forces as part of the U.S. withdrawal of troops from the country.
100 Taliban fighters have been killed in Helmand in recent fighting. The Afghan Defense Ministry says nearly 24 al-Qaeda fighters were among those killed in the past 24 hours. U.S. Central Command says it's turned over 1,300 pieces of equipment to destroy, the equivalent of 60 cargo planes worth of gear, and says up to 6% of the withdrawal from America's longest war is complete.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson at the Pentagon. An armed man who was shot outside CIA headquarters in Virginia yesterday has died. The FBI reporting at least one of its agents opened fire on the man last night after he got out of his car with a weapon near a security checkpoint. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey everybody, Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage and Rocket Companies. Last year, we saw historically low mortgage interest rates. In fact, over 1 million homeowners took advantage of refinancing or buying a new home with Rocket Mortgage. What you may not know is that interest rates are already starting to increase again, and it's likely that trend is only going to continue. Our team of experts is standing by to help you save before rates go up. With an official mortgage review from Rocket Mortgage, you'll see just how much money you could save by making a move right now. Don't look back over these next few weeks and wish that you had taken action. You could save hundreds on your mortgage payments or pay off your home loan earlier than planned. You could even take cash out of your home to pay off high-interest debt, complete home repairs, or bulk up on an emergency fund. When you want to secure a low rate, Rocket can. Call 833-8-ROCKET or visit rocketmortgage.com.
Rocket. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
At least 24 people were killed and about 80 injured when a concrete beam supporting an elevated section of a Mexico City subway collapsed last night, sending the train crashing into the ground. Officials say several children are among those killed. Rescue crews are still combing through the wreckage for more victims. An investigation already underway into what caused the collapse along the city's subway system, which is one of the busiest in the world. Florida Democratic Congressman Charlie Crist posting a video today announcing he's running for governor of the state in 2022.
You deserve housing you can afford, healthcare you can depend on, schools you can be proud of, jobs you can raise your family on.
He served as Florida's governor from 2007 until 2011. He was initially a Republican, then ran for Senate as an independent before switching parties and running as a Democrat for governor. He won his congressional seat in 2017 as a Democrat. The phase of the moon means free tacos at one fast food chain.
Taco Bell is celebrating tonight's waning crescent moon by giving out free tacos. The chain has renamed the lunar phase, now referring to it as the Taco Moon due to its taco-esque shape. You can get a free regular crunchy taco between 8 and 11:59 p.m. local time, ordered online through the app or in store. The offer is not for delivery orders. Taco Bell isn't the only restaurant chain with a freebie today. McDonald's is giving out free regular-sized caramel brownie McFlurries to everyone who thought that big hollow spoon served in your McFlurry was a straw. So, in other words, everyone. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
The chairman of one of South Korea's biggest dairy companies has resigned over a scandal in which his company was accused of deliberately spreading misinformation that its yogurt helps prevent coronavirus infections. Hong Won-sik and other members of his family will retain their shares in the company. I'm Rich Dennison, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The trial of a prisoner who's charged with the murder that occurred at the Fort Dodge Correctional Facility is now set for later this month. 45-year-old Eric Hall is charged with the murder of 59-year-old Thomas Andrew Dulesky. In June of last year, Dulesky was found unresponsive in his cell. The autopsy ruled the death was a homicide. The criminal complaint says that video surveillance from the prison shows that Hall went into Dulesky's cell just prior to his death. The Iowa DCI says that Hall admitted to the murder of Dulesky in an interview. Dulesky was serving a sentence of over 4 decades for charges of sexual abuse and lascivious acts with a child. Hall is serving time for third-degree burglary. He was originally scheduled to be released in 2023. Hall has rejected a plea deal on a charge of second-degree murder and will face first-degree murder in his trial. The Food Bank of Iowa's partner pantries in Webster County have received grants that total almost $198,000. The grants have been made possible through CARES Act funding. The various partners in Webster County Center grant recipients include APHIS, Lord's Comfort of Fort Dodge, Calvary Memorial Church of God in Christ, the Salvation Army, CFR, Community Christian School, Community Early Childhood Center, the Iowa Central Community College Foundation, Upper Des Moines Opportunity of Webster County, Trinity Catholic, and Youth Shelter Care of North Central Iowa. Iowa State football coach Matt Campbell says finding a return specialist has been a priority this spring. Kene Nwangu finished third in the Big 12 in kick returns with a 29-yard average. He was taken by the Minnesota Vikings in the 4th round of this past weekend's NFL draft.
I don't know if you totally, replace a guy like Kene, especially what he was as a senior in our football program. I mean, the plays he made, especially in the kick return game, were game-changing.
The comments from Matt Campbell are courtesy of Radio Iowa Sports. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Clear skies and quiet this afternoon with a high of 62. North winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Mainly clear tonight. Lows dip down to about 37. Daytime highs approaching 66. Tomorrow, cloudy skies. Mid-60s Thursday with a chance for scattered rain showers. Upper 60s Friday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 57.
Grief is a natural part of life. As hard as it is, we must find ways through it and not around it. We at Gunderson's help guide families through one of life's most difficult times, the death of a loved one. We are here to listen, hear your stories, and help create healing ceremonies, the first step in acknowledging and honoring your grief. We provide options, support, and answer questions when you need us most. The journey of grief is not one to walk alone. Gunderson's is here for you.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. May corn up 12.5 at 7.44 3/4. July up 17 1/4 at 6.96 3/4. September corn up 18.5 at 6.10 1/4. December up 17.5 at 5.80 1/2. May soybeans up 16 3/4 at 15.77. July up 14 1/4 at 15.38 1/4. August up 15 cents at 14.82. September up 18 3/4 at 14 $14 even. Soybean meal up $7.30 a ton at $423.50. Chicago wheat up 8 3/4 at $726 3/4. June live cattle down $2.27 at $113.02. August down $172 at $116.62. May feeder cattle down $3.30 at $129.75. August down $3.62 at $143.17. May lean hogs up 45 cents at $111.15. June up 90 at $113.55. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. This is Michael Devine, and if you want to join the program, it's 955-1400. I'm pleased to welcome back to the program Senator Tim Kreinbrink. We spent a lot of time on social issues because in the last half hour, because that seems to be all anybody wants to talk about. Because hi there, you're a racist. Never mind if you never did anything or said anything racist in your life. You're part of a terrible system that is the United States of America. I don't like the way our country is talked about by liberals. I'll tell you that right. I just don't like it.
It's kind of.
I'm not going to get ethnic about it.
It's kind of consuming the media right now, and when that happens, and
the woke media, everybody's woke.
Everybody.
The Des Moines Register is a disgrace. I'm sorry. I got to get off this with Tim Kreinbrink because we have some important things to discuss, Actually, obviously, I'm full of rage about the whole thing. they're mad, so I am. I don't know.
Hey, that got us off right there.
Let's talk about the budget process. Where are we at? I guess that's the reason you're still in Des Moines. I mean, you're not getting paid for being down there anymore.
No, I think there's a couple things that I think the papers pretty much have pinned it pretty well. It just comes down to a difference.
The papers did? Wow.
Well, I mean, not the papers, but the media is kind of saying that, the difference comes in, I think the Senate wants some tax relief, property tax relief. One of the big things that we have kind of hung our hat on is the taking the mental health off of the levy of property tax. So that 39 cents a thousand will totally, there will not be a mental health levy anymore for the county of Webster County or any other county in the state of Iowa. And that money then will be funded through the general fund, as well as another 10 million this year to mental health over and above what they were getting before. And I think we're having some heartburn trying to get that through the House. We're going to end this year at the end of June with probably $500,000 or half of $500 million in the savings account. Going through the pandemic, really what we've done is pretty amazing, as far as the state's concerned. Now, I will have to admit, we've got a lot of federal money that started coming last year that's relieved, some of that. So we have to still be hesitant in spending too much money because, once this money stops flowing in from the federal government, we're going to have to pick up the tab on some of that stuff. So we have to be prepared. We can't take one-time money from the federal government and put it into our budget and then try to fund that every single year. We're going to run out of money. And so, I always look at it like I deal with either your finances or my family finances or a lot of my clients that I deal with. We have to be responsible, and we also have to be good stewards of the money that we have.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen apparently has just announced that interest rates may have to rise. Now, I'm mentioning this because it is inevitable, but I'm also going to post a question out there in Radio Land. Who is the former senator from Delaware that has a lot of credit card companies who would benefit greatly from a rise in interest? Well, that would be former Senator Biden, right?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess I haven't looked at his portfolio.
Yeah. He used to be known as Senator Credit Card. He had all these credit card companies in. He and Chuck Grassley combined several years ago to adjust the bankruptcy bill, to change the bankruptcy bill.
Well, honestly, though, if you think about it, the interest rate is zero, and I think it has no place to go but up. And and the second thing is the credit cards is the last time I looked is they're still charging from 19 to 22%.
But they're offering pretty good deals to get people hooked. like 0% for a year.
But they've always done that.
What's that?
They've always done.
They've always done that. That's right. I've got.
They want you to transfer all your debt onto there, and then after a year you can't do anything, and if you cancel it, ruins your credit rating. And so, I mean, there's a lot of things that people just don't think about when they enter some of those financial agreements. And that's, I think, what you have to look at the state of Iowa. I mean, you've got a lot of capable people down there that know quite a bit about finances. And so, that's kind of where I'm pretty fortunate to fall into the position of state appropriation chair on the Senate side. That's what I deal with every day. And I think people know that I'm pretty passionate about dealing with people's money and with the state's money as well.
You're the guy who invented deappropriate, I think. You were deappropriating.
Hey, we're done doing that now.
You're not deappropriating anymore?
No, we were deappropriating ourselves.
The first couple of times you said that, I went, what?
Out of a financial problem. I wasn't on the appropriations committee. I was on the deappropriations
committee. Anyway.
I always said it's like taking money back that you gave to your son to take his girlfriend out to dinner, and he caught him before they went to the show and said, "Hey, I need that money back because you're going to have to come back and watch Netflix because we don't have enough money left."
Speaking of girlfriends, I'm ready for a new girlfriend. And I hear Melinda Gates is, going to be single here pretty quick. So I haven't been able to get a hold of her to see if she wants to
You
go
probably have to sign a prenup.
I might. Well, I'm just, I'm going to start slow. Do you want to go to pizza for at Amigos? Let's stop over at Old Boston or whatever.
Some Chinese buffet.
That's right. Chinese buffet. Yeah, that would be
I say that because I love Chinese buffets.
Yeah. So. Well, Melinda hasn't gotten back to me, surprisingly enough. But
she's probably working through it.
I think she is, but she's got a lot to work through there. The last I knew, Bill Gates and her were worth $56 billion.
Wow.
But I'm already imagining living in Seattle. So
sleepless
in Seattle. Yeah. Anyway, Senator Kreinbrink is here again. You guys aren't getting any sort of, what am I trying to say?
Negotiation or deal done.
Yeah, well, negotiation deal done, but you're not getting paid after the 1st of May, and you're not getting any. What? God, it's right on the tip
per
of my
diem.
tongue. Per diem.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yep.
So you're going down there essentially for free.
Well, I mean, there's times that we were here too, like today. Well, like today we're not getting paid anyway, but there were several times during the week that I would stay home, because I had nothing going on. So don't feel bad for us. I mean, we're all okay, and we knew this. I think the first year I was in, the majority back in, that would have been 4 years ago. We went to the middle of June.
Middle of June. That's right. You did you?
Yes.
That was the longest session ever.
But we weren't down there every day, but we just have to be on call to say, hey, a deal struck. Let's get down and vote. And we have to hurry up and vote before the deal goes bad.
You never really did get away from Mike Gronstal, though, did you? He's a lobbyist.
No, I like Mike. I've always liked him.
He is a likable guy, but he's Mr. Obstruction.
And he's funny. He was just he just had a lot of power. And
he did have a lot of power for a long time.
It's like a Manchin or somebody like that now in the U.S. Senate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people like that can play the fence and get away with it have a lot of power right now. So
let's talk about COVID just briefly. And I know you got to get going here, but is there going to be a time when we have a statewide mandate not to wear a mask? Can we get this thing lifted or what? There's still people running all over hell like chickens in a storm.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do it statewide or, there's corporations that, like I think Target, you have to have one or they want you to wear one. And,
well, I went over to the Friends of Public Libraries today.
But the weird thing is, my wife and I will go to the lake and we'll stop in Jefferson. Nobody at all wears masks there except for the checkout. And you go here and everybody's got it on, and
sure.
So that's Hy-Vee. That's the same corporate person, but it's just in a different county.
Yeah.
So I don't know if a county has more of a say on that than what the state does, but the state never did have a statewide mask mandate.
They didn't, did they?
No.
Well, I'll have to get.
They kind of left it up to the counties, so you want to talk to your county supervisors.
By the way, I never mentioned that you were in the community calendar, also known as the Fort Dodge Messenger. But there's a piece in here by Senator Kreinbrink. Iowa Senate works to improve public education. How so?
You want to read it?
I'm assuming not everybody wants to pick this thing up. I subscribe to it.
I thought you were only talking about the Des Moines Register.
No, that's Pravda. They write too much. Right. But no, this paper is good for the obituaries and sports. They do it. Their sports department, Eric Pratt, Dana Baker, do a great job. The rest of it is non-news.
Right. Yeah, the one thing that we did pass, and it was not unanimously, but I'm talking about it was in conjunction with the House, is and I think this article has a little bit to do about the charter schools.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's
you're a big believer in those.
Well,
right?
and these charter schools are public schools. So, they can be underneath the school boards that are already intact, and they can also be a charter school inside of a public school.
I thought a charter school was a private school.
Nope. Charter schools are public schools, run the exact same as with a board, and you could have the existing board of Fort Dodge Community School or Pocahontas or wherever, or you could start your own public school as well, or public charter. This has nothing to do with ESAs or private school funding. That we did pass in the Senate, but the House did not pass that. So, but the House came back with charter schools, and there can be special science charter schools inside of another public school. That really? Kids go to. It's really pretty cool. You should research that a little bit, and I learned a lot with it, and it's pretty awesome. So it kind of took away taking public money to private schools. This is public money to public charters.
Okay.
So it kind of strikes out what but of course, like everything else, the same people are going to complain about it because it's something different,
Mm-hmm.
So if there's schools that are failing right now, and a charter wanted to start within that school, they could, if the parents wanted them to take part in that charter school.
Okay. All right.
Pretty awesome.
So still no help for the Catholics, huh? We're going to stiff the Catholics again this year? I'll be damned. All right.
But no, thank you. I got to run, but
okay.
We'll, I'm sure, find times. And for people that saw in my newsletter that I was going to be on tomorrow at 3:30, I thought it might be better today because we might be called down tomorrow, and I wouldn't be here and wouldn't have time to do it even on remotely because we may be voting.
Right.
So it slipped in good today, and
good.
Hopefully we can get out of there. Eggs and Issues went well. We did the first face-to-face there, and that went well. And just look forward to, continuing to serve people here in District 5.
You have decided to run for re-election.
I hadn't made it totally public, but I am very 90% sure that I probably will.
You are the man, Cranbrink. I think we need you down there.
Well, thanks a lot, Mike, and nice to have you back too.
All right. Yeah, I feel good today. We'll have to check on tomorrow. And I don't know about session tomorrow, but I'll still be sitting at my house waiting for MediaCom to show up and fix my internet.
Well, this will get them there.
Oh yeah, it never does. They don't change. Well, these people out here, I mean, there's a couple, and I know one of them, there's a couple of girls over at the MediaCom office. They just, what do they have power? They don't. I mean, they're there to handle bills and some other things, Yeah, but no, I mean, the MediaCom actually is nationwide. I didn't want to get.
Well, good luck.
Thank you, Tim Cranbrink, Senator Tim Cranbrink's been our guest. Thank you so much. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I want to echo something I talked about just a little bit yesterday. And I know in the Catholic Church that obedience is a big deal. I know from talking to priests. I know that I know from growing up as a Catholic that obedience to the church and to church leadership, especially the Pope, cardinals, bishop, right on down the line, is considered sacred. I understand that. Believe me, I'm not trying to offend any traditional Catholics. I'm not. Even though Vatican II changed the church. Wow. The reason I keep talking about this is because the clergy cannot control child abuse scandals. They can't control some in the priesthood who are raping children. They can't. They're either unwilling, and apparently, and sadly, Pope John II is suspected of being unwilling to prosecute or to severely discipline perverts in his own church. Now, this is more than protecting a child rapist. This is evil. And Catholics have a better understanding sometimes, I think, maybe I'm wrong, of evil. We spend quite a bit of time on evil in the old church. And I'm glad we did, so I can recognize it when I see it. That's the problem with politicians today. None of them speak in the spiritual world. I liked it really when Jesse Jackson ran for president, or ran for the Democratic nomination, because he was very comfortable. He'd be giving a speech on the economy or the budget or whatever, and he'd slip right into biblical language. It was a welcome relief from all that stinted partisan crap you hear from the Republicans and Democrats. By the way, the two-party system has us by the throat, but that's another story. I know this entire area has a lot of faithful Catholic people. And God bless you, and God bless the church. I said yesterday, and I thought about it, and I've thought about this for a long time. The church or the world will be in bad shape without the Catholic Church. However, we have to let go of the idea. We have to let go of the idea that the church bureaucracy and its leadership are serving us. Or even serving, in this case, even serving the will of God. They are not. They are protecting very warped individuals who are also priests. And that's evil. The next question is, what are we going to do about it? take our concerns to the church. That'll work. Church hasn't been known for its flexibility over the years. Although I will say again, in Vatican II, this is a long time ago. I was just a kid and it freaked out older Catholics. During Vatican II, things like purgatory and limbo disappeared. When we asked the priests about it, they told us we were misunderstood. The idea that we would stop having Mass in Latin was a big deal and start having it in the native tongue of whatever country we were. And Germans spoke the Mass in German, and here in the United States, we spoke the Mass in English. Of course, that was a big deal. Also, the idea that the priest, now, the Catholic Mass is the heart and soul of the Catholic Church. So the priest, when he is facing the altar, and the priest always used to face the altar, is actually making a worship on behalf of the congregation. Or I should say the congregants and the priest are channeling to God right there during Mass. You know, we could never touch the communion wafer, only a priest, because God was actually in that wafer, in the blood of Christ. That's all changed now, and that was very shocking for a lot of Catholics. Even the idea that we could have Mass on Saturday afternoon freaked out a lot. And I know a lot of old Catholics around that time. I was just a kid. They were talking, I heard them, and they didn't know what to believe. They were terribly shocked by all those changes from Vatican II. We need to push forward. We need to believe our own eyes. And we need to protect kids. The Catholic bureaucracy, the clergy, the leadership is unwilling. What are we going to do? Be talked down to? Have some priest shake a finger in our face, or some cardinal or some bishop? I would have loved Cardinal McCarrick to go around lecturing people on morality. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Are we just going to stand here and be outraged, or are we going to do something about it? I'm in favor of doing something about it.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, 328, the news is next.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell & Cordell. When the prospect of divorce becomes a reality, you need a partner that you can count on. If you're a man in this situation, consider contacting Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men navigate complex legal matters for 30 years.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Des Moines area attorneys, a partner men can count on. Online at CordellCordell.com. 699 Walnut Street, 4th floor, Des Moines, Iowa, 50309.
Get on board with Alpha Media and Ballard's Resort for our 2021 Walleye Connection. We're heading north September 12th through 16th to Minnesota's Lake of the Woods. Your trip includes round-trip motor coach transportation, 4 nights lodging, 3 days guided walleye fishing, 12 meals, rods, reels, bait, tackle, ice, fish processing, and all taxes. What a great Father's Day gift for Dad. Our special rate is $850. Sign-up deadline is May 31st. Call 800-776-2675 to sign up or go to ballardsresort.com.
Guys, stop putting your love life on hold. U.S. Pharmacy has some exciting news. If you've been wanting to try Viagra or Cialis, now's the perfect time. Call today and receive 90 little blue or little yellow pills for only $119 with free shipping. Why order some low-dose sildenafil from one of those subscription services when we can give you what you want now? Call 800-990-6271 and we'll rush your order discreetly packaged to your door. Been thinking about trying Viagra or U.S. Pharmacy at 800-990-6271 for as little as only $119 for 90 pills. Need your package in a hurry? Call 800-990-6271 and ask about our express shipping option, and we'll rush your order to you as soon as possible. Save money on the little blue or yellow pill you've been wanting to try. Again, 800-990-6271 now. That's 800-990-6271.
What's the worst job you can think of? Cleaning septic tanks with a toothbrush? Spit polishing thermometers at the vet's office? Testing old milk?
Ugh, does this taste funny to you? If you think your job is about as bad as one of those, it's definitely time for a change. I'm Chris Ball, Director of Sales at Alpha Media. We have immediate openings in our sales department. Experience is great, but we'll train people with the right attitude. If you're looking for an awesome new career, call me at 955-5656 to schedule an interview today.
Alpha Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD news update,